Once upon a time, there was a princess, trapped in a tall, tall tower, and locked away by complicated machines that ran on blood and fear. Will she ever escape? Will she ever find her knights?
Knights of Guinevere is indie animation at its rawest, a dark satirical story about trauma, abuse, and corporations tearing apart the world. It doesn't play it safe, it doesn't sugarcoat anything, and that's exactly what makes it stand out as one of the most important pilots we've seen in years. This is Glitz Productions' first studio animated show directed by Dana Terrace, who is the creator of Disney's Owl House, which got cancelled by Disney for having a more adult audience and being too mature. Well, this leans into it even more. Knights of Guinevere feels different, darker, more mature, and far more personal. It's an indie project that isn't just trying to entertain. It's wrestling with trauma, alienation, and what happens when corporations destroy everything around them. The pilot is already out, so you should go watch that before you continue watching this video. Just a quick summary. The pilot opens up with Olivia playing with the Gwen unit, while the narrator describes the princess being trapped in the castle. Olivia's father, founder of Park Planet, tells her the park will be hers one day and urges her to forget the past. This is hinting at some hidden trauma. Things take a darker turn from here. Olivia mistreats the Gwen unit, who tries to escape by jumping off the balcony. This sets up the central conflicts of the show. Olivia's toxic obsession with fixing the Gwen unit while keeping her under control. Then we jump ahead years later. Gwen ends up in M7, the slums underneath the Park Planet, where trash is literally dumped onto the population. She's found by Franky, a factory worker who dreams about being an engineer one day like her friend Andy. While on the other hand, Andy is stuck as a junior engineer at the park. She hates her job but has to work to survive. Franky wants to fix Gwen, hoping it can change her future, but her guardian Sparky wants to sell Gwen for her blood, which might be used as a street drug. A fight ensues, and this is the first glimpse we see of Franky and Andy stepping into their roles as Knights of Guinevere. After a quick fight, it's decided that the best option might be to fix Gwen and then sell her. So they take her to the lower labs, where they're attacked by the guard robot Sir Arthur, who is sent by Olivia, who is now older, frail, and on her deathbed, but still obsessed with retrieving Gwen and trying to fix her and doing better. In a turn of events, we see Gwen destroy Sir Arthur for shutting down again. The episode ends with Andy and Franky trying to reboot her. Now let's dive deeper with each character. Starting off with Gwen. These are androids built to be perfect, cheerful, appealing, and have endless loyalty. All units share a hive mind, meaning they can recall memories and interactions across one another. They can even read people's thoughts, and it's suggested they have the ability to blur fantasy into reality inside the park.
It was beautiful. A world of possibility, where fantasies became reality, where tall tales became indisputable truths.
But the Gwen we follow is broken, glitching, unpredictable, and showing signs of free will while she tries to escape from Olivia. In the final scene, we also see a terrifying side of her strength, overpowering Sir Arthur, who is an older model built specifically for combat. Beyond that, Gwen's blood might be more than you think. The blue liquid inside of her is responsible for the toxic fumes that are causing the deadly disease, the blue lung, all out throughout this world. Now, moving on to the Knights, Andy and Franky. Andy works as a junior engineer at Park Planet, but she feels nothing more than a cog in the machine. This might also be a clever way of hinting that she's a cog, KOG, like Knights of Guinevere. This also mirrors how Andy sees herself being trapped as a meaningless cog in the system she despises. Her job is a root of alienation because she works for Park Planet, the very corporation responsible for polluting M7 and exploiting its people. The community looks at her with distrust and disdain. and she's stuck in this impossible middle ground, too close to Park Planet to ever feel fully part of M7, but too insignificant in the corporation hierarchy to matter at the planet itself. This fuels her defeatist mindset. Andy constantly voices the disbelief that the park is too big and too powerful, and nothing she or anyone else does matters. And I think this is setting up a pretty compelling arc where she goes from this helpless, defeatist character to having a transformation where she feels empowered and like she can make a change in the world, and she can step into the role of being a Knight of Guinevere. Also, it's hinted in this scene that she might have the blue lung, so she's just trying to make as much money as she can so she can afford a cure or something. Now moving on to Franky. Franky works in the factories of M7 making toys and merchandise for the park. She's tough, resourceful, and deeply loyal, but she's also naive. She believes the park is creating happiness and wants to be part of that by becoming an engineer. Her abusive father figure Franky pushes her with harsh, tough love, shaping her into a person who thinks pain is just part of the growth. I think Franky's arc is going to be about disillusionment, realizing the park isn't the source of joy she imagined and her loyalty may be misplaced. Now, one of the antagonists of the show is Olivia's father, but he's one of the most mysterious characters in the plot. What we know for sure is that he's the founder of Park Planet, a massive amusement park in the sky that literally dumps its waste onto the slums of M7. He also created the Gwens, making him responsible for both the park and its androids. But beyond that, his character is wrapped in a lot of unanswered questions. In the opening scene, he tells Olivia to forget about the past, which strongly suggests something traumatic happened. One theory is that Olivia or he might be responsible for the death of her mother. Either way, it seems to be tied with this obsession and numbness we see in Olivia. There's also speculation that he and Olivia might not even be from the planet and they're aliens. Some fans think that his older creations like Sir Arthur, which seems like an older bot cause he has this steampunk vibe and speaks in medieval time English, are responsible for a mass destruction event somewhere else, forcing them to flee and rebuild here. That's never confirmed in the show, but the pilot is definitely leaving some doors open for some bigger lore. At the very least, we know that Olivia's father represents the archetype of the untouchable elite man who builds a utopia in the sky for himself while leaving everyone else to rot beneath it. Now the main antagonist, which is going to be Olivia. Right from the start, she comes across as this detached and cold character. Her relationship with the Gwen makes it even clearer. She mistreats her, but at the same time is obsessed with trying to fix her. It creates this really toxic dynamic that defines who she is as a character. The plot also hints that Olivia's behavior comes from trauma. Her mother is never shown and her father tells her to forget the past, which suggests something tragic happened there. There's a theory that Olivia might have accidentally caused her death. If that's true, it would explain why she clings on to the Gwen so desperately, trying to fix her and trying to undo a loss to prove to herself that she can make things right. It's a bit like Jinx and Arcane, where the guilt and the grief led to this obsession and self-destruction. When we see Olivia later in the pilot, she's aged, frail, and is dying, but her obsession with the Gwen hasn't gone away. If anything, it's gotten worse. That's what makes her story so compelling. She isn't just a villain. She feels like this tragic character who's been consumed by this guilt and obsession of trying to fix things. There are definitely some underlying themes in the show. Knights of Guinevere doesn't hold back. It's a story about trauma, abuse, exploitation, and alienation baked right into the world. Take the opening scene for example. Olivia is playing with the Gwen, and it doesn't feel cute, it feels disturbing. Later we see her pulling her insides while calling her princess, and when Gwen tries to escape, Olivia doubles down on her obsession of trying to fix her. That sets the tone for the whole show. Trauma twisting into abuse, and it's not just Olivia. Sparky, Franky's father figure, literally hits her to toughen her up. He even pulls out her teeth as punishment. These are two very different relationships, but we see the same cycle of abuse repeating itself. Then you've got this blue liquid. And this stuff is genius. It's like the spice in the Dune series. It's the lifeblood of the Gwens, but it's also being harvested as some exotic narcotic, and it's poisoning the people of M7. The fume give workers the blue lung, a disease that literally rots them from the inside out. And it even shows up in their spit. And Andy might already have it. So the very thing that makes Gwen alive is the same thing killing everyone else. That's a perfect metaphor for corporate greed turning life into profit and profit into death. And that's what I love about this pilot. Every character embodies one of these themes. Olivia's obsession is the cycle of trauma. Andy's defeatist attitude is that crushing feeling of just trying to survive. Franky's optimism, straight up denial, trying to believe in a system that's actively destroying her. And all of this is tied together by the blue liquid, the resource that keeps the world spinning but is slowly killing it. Also, I just want to talk about a few things that I really like about the show. Like this claw scene where she's trying to get the doll in the beginning, and then when she finds the Gwen unit and she pulls her with a claw machine. Also, the relationship between Olivia and Gwen kind of remind me of Pink Dynamite and Spinel, and how Pink Dynamite kind of left her and she went insane, and she kind of mistreated her, and Olivia really mistreats her, so that there's a difference, but it kind of reminds me of that. Another thing I noticed was when Franky and Andy meet that Gwen at the start, she has a broken finger and Franky fixes her. And when she finds this Gwen, she also has a missing finger and it's kind of moving out of control. So is this the same Gwen? Are they all the same Gwen? Because they do have a hive mind. I don't really know. Also in the end credit art where you can see Gwen and Andy and Franky, and Andy is kind of like the sword of the Knights and Franky is kind of like the shield of the Knights, and I really like this art style and this is just beautiful. There are also a lot of hints in this opening title sequence where they show everything about the world and what has happened in the years between, and how beautifully they connected to the show where it's like seamless and it just goes right back into the show and the storytelling. So you don't even feel like it's a title sequence, it's like a montage of all the years and all the stuff that happened between those years. Also, the title sequence does has a lot of hints about the universe, so you should pause and read everything so you get a better idea of what's happening in the show and the universe. What I love about Knights of Guinevere is that this is a kind of story you would never see from big studios. Disney, Netflix, they wouldn't touch something this dark, this raw, this uncomfortable. But that's exactly why we need indie animation and why it matters so much. When curators aren't chained down by executives or forced to play it safe, you get projects like these. Stories that don't sugarcoat trauma or shy away from showing the ugliest sides of power and exploitation. And honestly, if we want more stuff like this, we've got to support it. Watch the pilot, share it around, talk about it, and if you can afford it, buy some merch and donate to the studios. That's the only way indie animation survives. We have already seen what studios like Glitch can do with The Amazing Circus, and they can stand shoulder to shoulder with the big guys. But it only works if we as the audience actually fight for it. Knights of Guinevere isn't just a pilot, it's a statement, and it deserves to be seen.